Hi everyone, with you as always TimFilm, and in this video we're going to deconstruct the movie Avatar, Path of Water. It's a very interesting movie and I was very impressed by it. So enjoy the movie and let's go. Well, reviewing Avatar 2 was always going to be interesting, but also because it's one of the only major releases this year that doesn't involve dinosaurs or people in capes and spandex. So what's the matter? Dear viewer, was Avatar 2 worth the 13-year wait? Or is it just an overblown vanity project by an aging director whose ego now exceeds his capabilities? Weird. Strange. On the one hand, Avatar 2 is a visually impressive movie with majestic shots of alien worlds that surpass even those in the original, great action scenes that blend CGI perfectly with practical effects to create fantastic scenes of explosive destruction and violence, and all built around a refreshingly traditional central line. The story is about the importance of family loyalty, trust, and sacrifice, but on the downside, it suffers from a bloated and self-indulgent script that drags on for at least an hour longer than it needs to, an extensive cast of mostly forgotten and superfluous characters with simplistic personalities and very little recognizable arcs, terrible dialogue that reminds me of the worst aspects of Rings of Power rocks sink because they look down at the darkness boats float because they look up at the brilliant sky you know. All in all, Avatar 2 is both a good and bad movie, depending on how you view it, and I suspect I'll be supported by both sides on this one. But what the hell, let's give it a shot anyway. So the breezy opening montage of the movie describes the events of the last decade after the defeat of the humans. In the previous movie, Jake Sully becomes the new leader of the Na'vi tribe and settles down to start a family with Natter. They have two sons, a daughter, an adopted human son named Spider, and a partridge in a pear tree. Yes, and Spider turns out to be the son of Colonel Korik from the first movie, which we left out, didn't we? Until one day the humans come back in full force and establish a new city for themselves. And I love how everyone is in complete shock at this event. I mean, did you really think they were just going to give up one of the most valuable planets in the universe just because they had one temporary setback? Anyway, the humans aren't just here to mine resources on Pandora. Now they want to colonize the entire planet and make it their new home because apparently Earth is dying due to pollution or overpopulation or whatever. How exactly they're going to colonize an alien planet where they can't even breathe air without dying, I don't know. And humans aren't the only thing that came back. Remember the Quidditch Colonel from the first movie? Remember how he completely died when Neytiri turned him into a human needle? So he came back in Na'vi form? Yeah, apparently before his last mission he took precautions and downloaded all his memories and personality onto a computer, which was then uploaded into a new avatar body, which while the Quidditch movie was growing all this stuff for him, well, that was fortunate. But it's also fortunate that they obviously did all this stuff off-screen, because it's not like Cameron would remake all this stuff ex post facto to bring back a popular antagonist or something. Oh yeah, I guess, I smell bullshit. Anyway, the gist of it is that the Blue Man Quidditch and the rest of his posse set out to kill Jake and his family, and although they fail in their attempt, they manage to capture Spidey and take him prisoner, knowing that he can eventually lead Quidditch and the others back to Na'vi. Jake and the others decide to flee and seek refuge with the water people on the other side of the planets. I mean, if I were Quidditch, I'd probably go there anyway, take the entire tribe prisoner and start interrogating people until someone tells me where Jake went. But maybe that's just me anyway. It all leads to what I like to call a family drama in a movie, and you better brace yourself for that, because it's at least 90 minutes of total movie inertia. I can't stress how boring the whole thing is. It's literally a cheap, predictable teen drama transposed into a sci-fi setting with nice visual effects. Jake and his family have to move to a new neighborhood where his kids try to make friends, get into fights with local bullies, and have to prove themselves to find a place on the police force. The odd socially awkward daughter finally finds her calling in life, and one of his sons even strikes up a relationship with a local mixed-race woman. Okay, hold on. Did you remember to subscribe to the channel? Oh yeah, and like, and now we can move on. Girls, this is a Kid story that we've all seen a million times before, and the fact that it all takes place between blue alien Smurfs and that the movie takes itself so seriously makes it all unintentionally funny anyway. After about 3 ice ages, the script remembers that other things have to happen, so Quidditch and his devilish friends show up and kill a bunch of giant whale sea turtles to piss off the Na'vi, and then there's a big shootout on a big flying ship. A shootout on a big flying ship. Most of the bad guys die, and Jake and the others live happily ever after. Breaking down Avatar 2 is pretty hard because it seems like everything that speaks in its favor ends up working against it. Like I said, it's a visual masterpiece that is gorgeous to look at, and you can see that a lot of love and care was put into creating the world of Pandora, from the trees and landscapes to the vibrant ecosystems and wildlife. But then, as I kind of predicted in the trailer, visual spectacle, as I predicted in the trailer, is nothing new in modern cinema, and the more you see of it in this movie, the less impact it ends up having. From a realistic standpoint, there are only so many impressive shots of alien landscapes, underwater reefs, towering jungles, and floating mountains that I can take before my brain gets numb from it all. While it's definitely refreshing to see a modern movie that champions the importance of the family unit instead of trying to deconstruct the manual and destroy it, and that dares to portray fathers as brave defenders, wise teachers, and strong leaders instead of useless, incompetent, effeminate cowards, it also doesn't really develop J. Cole so much as a character. Mostly he starts the movie as a loving father willing to make tough choices to keep his family safe. And he ends the movie the same way he did in the first movie. See what you want, but at least Jake had some character. Although in this story, the narrative focuses less on Jake and Terry and more on their kids, and that creates its own set of problems because, frankly, the teen drama drags on for so long that the whole plot basically stops in the water for a good hour, to the point where I actually started to forget what was even supposed to be going on. The environmental message of the movie is commendable, but it's implemented about as subtly as the anti-colonial stuff from the first movie. Not the magic mineral from the first Avatar. The new magic stuff at the heart of the movie is the brain fluid of giant whale sea turtles, which the Na'vi love. And I'm not kidding. They really love them. Stop and talk to them about how their family lives and how their day goes. And again, the movie presents a laughable concept in such a serious way that it becomes unintentionally funny. But then, of course, people have to show up to ruin the party. They are hunted viciously with harpoons, and it's all shown in excruciating detail. And I found myself asking the simple question of why I think we all basically agreed decades ago that whale hunting is horrible and unnecessary and shouldn't be done anymore. And it just seems odd for this movie to make it such a thematic centerpiece. Also, there's not the slightest attempt to portray the humans with any nuance or subtlety. The fact that they're on Pandora to literally fight for the survival of their species opens up some interesting possibilities as to the moral imperative of their actions and whether or not they have a good reason to do all this. But hey, why waste time on complex, intriguing questions like that when you can get another hour of lovingly portrayed blue teenagers swimming through the glowing inn? In the first movie, humans are almost without exception portrayed as evil, destructive, greedy, militaristic monsters, spewing pollution that spreads like cancer throughout the impossible natural beauty of Pandora, and the Na'vi are portrayed in the most flattering light. They are peaceful, harmonious, egalitarian, brave, noble, selfless, and completely in tune with the environment. It's essentially the tired trope of the noble savage transposed onto the blue aliens. Why live on an alien planet where the air itself will kill you unless you have a magic respirator with endless oxygen that never falls off, gets damaged, or stops working? Why he talks like a Californian for a brother? Why his actor has no real acting ability? Why he makes an absolutely terrible decision at the end of the movie that will almost certainly he makes an absolutely terrible decision that will almost certainly result in untold death and suffering for his adopted children who don't know. I just wish he had thought through the plot and characters as carefully as he did, especially when he had 13 years to do it. And more than that, I wish someone had been there to make him do it. The more I think about this movie, the more it reminds me of the Star Wars prequels, where George Lucas had unlimited creative and financial freedom to indulge in all of his worst excesses as a director, and everyone around him was afraid to call them out as the culprit. That Avatar 2 suffers from a similar problem. Ultimately, I have a hard time deciding if this movie is worth recommending to people. If it were an hour shorter and maybe a little smarter and more nuanced, I wouldn't doubt it. But as it stands, while it's better than almost everything else Disney has released this year, it's so long, so bloated, and so self-indulgent that I really don't know if it's worth your time and money, and if the first box office numbers say nothing. If the first box office receipts say it, I may not be the only one. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Now off you go. Thanks for watching this episode to the end. Write your opinion of the movie in the comments, and see you in the next video.